All right, welcome back to part 2 of 10 more tips and tricks or menu settings for the EOS R for those of you who are new to the EOS R system. And if you missed it, here is the previous video about the first 10 settings or 10 tips and tricks to set up your EOS R menu. And this is going to be part 2 now. We're going to talk about 10 new things. So if you enjoy this video, if you enjoyed the previous video, definitely do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. I'm working hard to trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, and every subscriber counts. So definitely hit that subscribe button and help me grow this channel. So with that being said, let's jump into the menu of the EOS R and talk a little bit more about this awesome camera. All right, so the first setting I'm going to suggest you change is in Orange tab, page 5, and is release shutter without lens. I suggest you turn this on. So the benefit to turning this on is if you ever use any kind of lens that doesn't have any electronics on the front of your camera is going to think that lens is just a lens cap or body cap. And when you try and hit the shutter button, nothing's going to happen. So what you're doing here is you're giving the camera permission to take photos even if there's no lens on the front of the camera. And what that might be is, for example, a cinema lens or a vintage lens or some kind of specialty lens that doesn't have any kind of electronics in it. So might as well just turn that on so when you put the lens on your camera, you don't start worrying, oh my God, my camera broke, it's not taking any pictures. So that's the first recommendation. All right, next go to Red tab, page 3, scroll down to exposure simulation. Now you don't have to turn this on or off, but it's important to know what this does. So right now it's on, and it's on by default. And when exposure simulation is enabled, what that does is it allows you to see your exposure on the back of your screen or in your EVF. So as I'm changing the ISO, you can see the image is getting brighter and darker because exposure simulation is turned on. If we turn it off, it just gives a generic view of everything. So if we try and change the ISO, you can see nothing is happening. And you might be thinking, well, what good would that do? Well, this is perfect for studio work. So if you're shooting with studio strobes, for example, they're going to fire real bright and your camera settings will be, let's say, ISO 200 f9. And if you set that up on camera inside, your screen's going to be completely black. You won't be able to see what's going on because obviously your aperture is too small. So when you disable exposure simulation, it just gives you a generic simulation so you can see what you need to see so you can compose your shot and take it. And in this situation, you're probably going to have to turn on, where are we here? Image preview. I have it off by default, but you might have to turn that on so after you take a shot, you can see your shot for 2 seconds, make sure your exposure is right, and then go back to shooting. There you go. Now you know. All right, so now we're going to talk about one of the most controversial things on the EOS R, and that is the multi-function touch bar. So I have mine set up in a very specific way that works really well for event photography, weddings, that kind of thing. So if I swipe to the left, I have face tracking. There's no faces in here, but that'll track an eye if there's an eye in frame. If I swipe one to the middle, now I'm on spot tracking, so I can spot focus on a specific thing and the camera will ignore eyes. And if I swipe all the way to the right, now I have zone tracking. So I can tell the camera only look for eyes in the right side of the frame, left side of the frame, in the center. So if you have multiple things in frame, you can use the zone here to tell the camera what zone to look for eyes in. So if we go to autofocus, I think page 5, yep, limit AF methods. So you can see here I've limited my AF methods to only 3. You can turn on the ones you want. You can have more vertical, horizontal, all that stuff. But I have a full video explaining how I set things up over there. So if you want to watch that, I'll go into more detail about how to set up your multifunction touch bar. I don't want to go into too much detail in this video, otherwise it's going to get too long. But definitely check that out if that's something you want to learn more about. All right, the next setting I want to talk about here is ISO speed range. So that's Red tab, page 3. And if we click on it, we have all these different options. So we have ISO speed. And this is my current ISO speed on the camera, 3200. And then we can set here ISO speed range. So let's say I only want the camera to go between ISO 100 and 400. Okay, so we'll set OK. So now if I pop out here, you can see if I scroll the wheel, I can only go between 200 and 400. So I've sort of set the camera's range. Now, for manual shooting, you definitely don't want to do that because you'll be stuck somewhere. But for example, if you're shooting a wedding and the camera gets really grainy after 6400, you don't really want to shoot shots higher than 6400. You can set it here for 6400 so that, let's say you're walking somewhere and you accidentally scroll the wheel, you hit the wheel and you're like, oh no, now I'm at H1, everything's so grainy and you didn't notice. You can kind of limit that, which is kind of cool. The other thing you can do here in ISO speed range is you can set the auto range. So auto range means if you're using, let's say, shutter priority mode, aperture priority mode, or automatic, and the camera automatically chooses the ISO, it'll stay within this range. So I can tell the camera, if you're choosing an automatic shutter speed, don't go above 6400. So now in automatic mode, it won't go over 6400. All right, and I don't know why Canon did this, but if we want to adjust shutter speed range and those limits, we have to go to Orange tab and page 2 and then shutter speed range. So here we can set the shutter speed range. We can tell the camera don't drop below 30 and don't go over 8,000th of a second. So you can set that, and this affects your manual mode. So if you're shooting manual and you're trying to change your shutter speed, let's say you're trying to star trails and you're wondering, oh my God, why can't I go below 30? It's probably because this setting is set. But if you're shooting events, for example, like I said, I keep this set to 1/25th of a second, and I don't like shooting below that speed because this camera does not have IBIS. So that's something you can do to set up your camera for event shootings to ensure that you have nice, sharp shots. And one below shutter speed range is aperture range. So I don't know why you would want to do this, but if you want to set your aperture to sit within a certain range, you can do that. You can say, don't go below f5.6. Again, if you're shooting events and weddings like that, you don't necessarily always want a super shallow depth of field. Sometimes for group shots, you want more depth of field to get more faces in focus, but I don't really understand what this setting would be used for, so I don't really use it, but I think it's important to understand that you can set up range for aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. All right, so now we're going to talk about custom shooting modes. And again, this is only for specific situations. Like for me, I shoot weddings, so if I'm outside, I'll set C1 for outside, I'll set C2 for inside, and C3 for any kind of special lighting setup. So if we go in here, we can just register settings. So you set your settings, whatever they are here, you set them up however they are. Then you hit menu, go in here and go register setting. You choose 1, 2, or 3. If I'm outside, I set it to 1, I hit OK. Boom, set. I go in, I change my settings. I'm inside now, I want to fix it. Now I go here, register settings, set it to C2, boom, set. And now it's saved, right? So every time, if you're repeating shots in the same situation and then you have to go to another situation, rather than changing your settings each time, you can just save them. So that's super handy. The other thing too is that you have custom C1, 2, 3 for photo mode as well as video mode. So now if we go into video mode, it's a little different. Same kind of situation, but there's something really cool here. So if we go back into photo mode here, check this out. At the bottom, it says record movie with video settings, C3 settings. So what does that mean? That means that if we take this off here, on the top of the camera, you have a record button, right? So if you're in photo mode and let's say you're shooting photos at a wedding or you're shooting wildlife or whatever the case may be, if you want to start recording, you hit the record button. I start recording video in whatever my C3 custom function is. So that's pretty cool. That's just like a quick way to start shooting video and have a little bit of control over what that video is. Now you don't have much control, as you can see on the screen. There aren't very many settings. I can just increase or decrease the exposure a little bit. But in any case, you can set that to slow-mo. You can set it to, 4K 24, 1080p, whatever the case may be. But it's kind of cool that you have that option to quickly jump into video mode and start shooting some videos with your C3 setting. Just remember to go into video mode here, menu, and set it here. Register settings, go to C3, save it there. And when you hit record in photo mode, you're good to go. All right, so now we're going to talk about the My Menu setting, or the star, the green tab. So you can set up multiple tabs with whatever you want in there. You can set custom little menus for yourself. So let's say one for event photography, one for studio portraits, one for outdoor portraits, one for video, whatever the case may be. You can set it up however you like. So let's add something here. Configure. And we are going to select items to register, and you have to go through this list. I wish Canon came up with a better way of doing this. It would be so much easier. I have an idea, but I don't know if this is the video to talk about that, because you can't really change anything now. But yeah, let's say we want to, let's pick something random here. Slideshow, register, okay. Now it's registered. Go back to the My Menu, go back. So now we have slideshow. So now that's an option here. We can change print order, erase images, slideshow. For me here, I have display settings, exposure simulation, external speedlight control, HDR mode. So I use that for shooting real estate indoor shots. So I have access to those settings. Then here, continuous autofocus, highlight alert. Actually, we should talk about highlight alert because that's not something I mentioned. You definitely want to turn that on. All right, let's go. I'm going to talk about that next. I'm going to give you a little bonus setting here. We're going to talk about highlight alert. Okay, so now we're in Blue Tab, page 3, highlight alert. So that's disabled by default, I believe. So you want to enable that. And what that does for you is it lets you know if you have any blowouts. So let's drop this to 30th of a second. Let's increase the ISO. That definitely looks a little blown out. So we take a shot. And here's the thing that sucks with Canon. It doesn't give you a live highlight alert. Other camera systems like Fuji do, and I wish Canon would update. Like not even the R5 Mark II doesn't give you a live highlight alert. I don't understand why. But if we hit play, we can see everything that's blinking in black right now. The camera's letting me know that that's overexposed. So if you're shooting outdoor on the beach or weddings outdoors, you can just check your photos, and if it starts blinking, you've clipped, and you can go and readjust your exposure. But like I said before, it would be so much better, Canon, please, if you're listening, give us live highlight alert so we can see the overexposure in the viewfinder as we're shooting. That would be so much handier. Anyway, that is that. All right, there you go. Now you know, and if you want to help me grow this channel, definitely leave a comment down below, and that that helps the algorithm promote this video, and that helps me grow this channel, so definitely appreciate that. If you want to see more EOS R content, if you're thinking about buying the camera, check this video out right here. I talk about the EOS R in 2025, and if you want to see all my EOS R content, definitely check out the other videos on my YouTube channel, or better yet, check out the link down below to my blog, Topic EOS R, and I have all my EOS R content there, including stuff that isn't on YouTube. So hopefully that's a resource for you and helps you understand what this camera is all about, because you know what? Honestly speaking, the image quality of the EOS R is absolutely amazing, and you can use this camera to build a portrait photography business. It is just that good. And if you're into video with this camera, I got some videos talking about the video you can get with this, and you can get 10-bit raw video out of this camera to a Ninja recorder, external recorder. So absolutely awesome camera. Even in 2025, the EOS R still kicks butt, and the fact that you can buy it used for between $500 and $800 is just like, what? Like, really? You can buy a camera at this quality for that price? Like, you're literally getting, I don't want to say pro level, but it's up there. It's professional level at entry level price. So yeah, the EOS R is pretty awesome. And yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, help me get to 20,000 subs, would really appreciate it. And definitely subscribe if you want to see more content about the EOS R and other Canon gear and lenses and all that kind of fun stuff that us photographers totally love. All right, with that being said, this video is over. Peace out. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.